We have all heard of imaginary friends. They are usually described as a way for children to cope with loneliness. Experts say it's all in their rich imagination. I have some Reddit stories that might tell a different story. From the silly to terrifying, let's look into imaginary friends. Razzle Dazzle, EM, 3 years ago. My son had an imaginary friend about 11 years ago when he was 2 or 3. He didn't know her name, so he called her Dora, 'cause she had a black bob cut. He was quite frightened of her, could describe her in detail, and always seemed to be looking directly at her, but nervously. They would watch TV together, and he would offer her food and drinks, and when he played, he would try to involve her. After we moved house, he stopped seeing her, except when he had night terrors. We've brought Dora up a few times since then, and he has zero recollection of her. True story. I'm not implying a ghost story or a really messed up imaginary friendship. My kid didn't have many friends at that age, due to a new area, etc. It was just weird, though, especially at 2 a.m. when he was crying for her to go away. Redditor, Miss Frizzle, 3 years ago. My daughter had one when she was 2 to 3, named Juju. He didn't scare her, but it creeped me out so much. I told her to tell him to go home, but that he wasn't welcome. She told him to leave, and I didn't hear about him for 2 months, and one day she looks up and says, "Juju's back." And I was like, nope, nope, nope. Tell Juju to go home. He is not welcome. She did, and I never heard about him again. Reddit user, Butt Salad Girl, 3 years ago. Oh, I see my imaginary friend to this day. She is very much dead, but also a live-looking silhouette. She stares at me through my window at night. I talk to her every night when I'm at the computer or falling asleep. She's never there when there's a thunderstorm. I don't think she likes lights or anything that can allow people to see her face. She has never once said anything to me or moved. Just still, lifeless. Still there every morning when I wake up if it's dark, or when I go to work. I don't look her direction when I leave the house for fear I might make her angry or something. I'm also afraid to see what her face looks like, so I do not attempt to shine a light on her. I don't know what exactly drives me to believe she's comforting. I'm sure other people would call it a horror story or a haunting, but I've seen this figure every day since I was about 7. I'm probably crazy, but I'm sure she will be around forever, staring at me from the window at night. Unknown Redditor, 3 years ago. Mine was a puff of smoke called Twinkle that I'd follow through the house and yard and get into all kinds of trouble. It had no features other than being a cloud of smoke, which was constantly changing shape and size. It didn't talk, but I would talk to it. Redditor, listen to the mirror, 6 days ago. For as imaginative I was as a child, my imaginary friend was just a normal dude named John. John was sometimes a kid and sometimes an adult. We usually climbed around under the dining table and pretended to be lions. I tried to start bringing John to school with me, but when his mother showed up and started following us around, and I did not like her at all. Redditor CJC Mommy 0123. 1 year ago. My mom said I had one of these. She said I had an imaginary friend named Emily. One morning, my mother was watching a TV show, and it suggested asking your kids how their imaginary friend died. So my mom asked me. Mom said I promptly informed her Emily died in a fire. I do believe this terrified my mom. She started doing research and finally hit gold. There was a homestead near the trailer park I grew up in. It got raided by a bunch of Native Americans one day, and it was set on fire. The occupants of the home were scalped. There was a mom, a dad, and one little girl, Emily. Redditor, just meet Charlie, 4 months ago. I hope this counts. My friend said that when she was little, she went to a church and kept telling her mom that she wanted to play with her friends out by the church. Her mom tried to tell her that it was just woods back there and that no one was there. She even mentioned the names of these friends she could see that were telling her to come play. But there was nothing there. Then her mom found out that there was an old cemetery that used to be where my friend was trying to go that no one talked about. Yikes. Redditor travels with the doctor 5 years ago. My son from the age of 3 always tells me about the creeper man who lives in my mom and dad's bedroom. He brings it up after he visits them. I made the mistake once of asking what he looks like. My son said, "Oh, he doesn't have a face." Redditor, brown X coat, 5 years ago. When my daughter was 3, she had an imaginary friend named Kelly, who lived in her closet. Kelly sat in a little rocking chair while she slept, played with her, etc. Typical imaginary friend stuff. Anyway, fast forward 2 years later, the wife and I are watching the new Amityville, the one with Ryan Reynolds, and our daughter walks out right when the dead girl goes all black-eyed. Far from being disturbed, she said, "That looks like Kelly." "Kelly who?" we say. The dead girl that lived in my closet. Redditor unknown, 5 years ago. When I was about 4, I had an imaginary friend named Bomba. I remember well that he wore a purple turban and had darker skin. I made Mom set a place for him at the dinner table and scooched to the edge of my bed every night to make room for him for months. For my dad's birthday that summer, my parents had a party. We had a small pool, but by this point, I was allowed to be in the shallow end with my water wings if an adult was watching me. With all the adults distracted, though, I decided to break the rules and go in without my wings or supervision. Someone noticed me underwater pretty soon after. Head under, but my legs kicking toward the edge. My dad jumped in, fully clothed, and pulled me out. Fuss ensued. When it was clear I was all right, the first thing I said to my mom was, "Bomba told me to just keep kicking, that I'd make it to the edge if I just kept kicking." The next day, when my mom was setting the table, and I stopped her when I saw her set Bomba's place. He was gone, and I guess I stopped speaking of him after that.